without that generator, we would have ran out of water. We were in the same shape as you were. But everything worked out real well. We're coming along with the funding package on that, and I can promise you I'm not going to let up until we do it. The biggest thing is that we need, in the very near future, we need people to sign up for the service. That is very, very important.
Did they sign up? People signed up at one time?
We have probably 60 people signed up, and we need 350.
Well, put up me, I'll get you some sign up.
But we will start having meetings as soon as we get our RC grant. That will be the kickoff to start getting the rest of the folks signed up. We'll have the prints ready to show you exactly where your meter's going, and hopefully it'll be this month to get that ARC grant.
Is that through the Logan PSD?
I'm sorry?
Is that through the Logan PSD?
No.
Okay. Well, you all have the same clause that Logan PSD has. If you sign the petition to get water and you don't hook up, then you have to pay, after a year, you have to pay $16.92 per month for 2 years just because you signed the petition for your
No, ma'am,
neighbors.
you have to pay 3 years.
You have to pay 3 years if you sign the
A
petition.
minimum bid.
To help your
No,
neighbor,
not-
even though you don't hook up to the water, you still have to pay for water you don't even use.
That's right.
That is so wrong.
It's just like if you go to the bank and borrow money on a card, you show them your job and your ability to pay it back, we have to do the same thing. We're borrowing a lot of money. So we have to show our lenders that we're able to pay this back. And we have a commitment of all these customers for 3 years. That's guaranteed income that we have.
But if you don't even get one drop of city water, you're still paying for it for 3 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you
You
very
shouldn't
much.
sign the petition if you're not gonna pay.
Well, I want my neighbors to have water.
And it's not,
Just because I have a well that I has paid for and I want to use it, and they have bad water, I don't want to keep them from not having good water.
and it's not a petition. It's actually,
It was a
The
petition.
actual agreement, isn't
it's
it?
an actual agreement that you sign.
Well,
The
when it
petition,
was presented to us, it was not presented, it was presented as a petition to obtain water in your area.
this is an agreement with the water company if you will pay that. It is not a petition.
Well, it was never explained to anyone like that.
I can promise you, when I
So-
explain it, that I will tell you 10 times in one
Right.
meeting that you have to pay for it for 3 years.
Okay.
And now in the agreement, we've changed that you have to initial that fact as well. Because you're right, a lot of folks, you know, I hear, before I got public water, I hear I'm getting public water. I don't listen to the part I got to pay for it for 3 years. I'm just so happy that I'm getting water. But that's the way it is set up through the Public Service Commission.
Well,
Sean, you have a
when it came to the Harts area, it was never explained like that.
Oh, I'm not
So I'm
talking
just,
about.
I'm just telling you that, so.
That's not in my area of
Right.
responsibility.
Right, that's why I was asking if it was affiliated with Logan,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, just to, I suppose, bring up the elephant in the room, has there been any indication from Commissioner Ramey about a possible resignation? I know things are still in flux in the federal court system, and there's talk of a plea hearing being scheduled, or that's what the federal courts are looking to do according to the federal court's website. But has there been any notification to either commissioner about Commissioner Ramey's intentions?
Mr. McCain, did you hear the question?
Yeah, nothing from me.
I haven't heard from Mr. Ramey. Lisa.
In consideration of the information that came out this week, and since we've already had the history of going down this road with our county clerk and our sheriff, I would like to publicly ask Thomas Ramey Jr. to formally resign his position as county commissioner based on the fact that we paid salaries to the sheriff and to the county clerk after they were charged, and the citizens paid their salaries up until the day they resigned, and I just don't feel that's fair, and we don't want that same problem going on with the county commission. So I'd like to go formally on record to ask for his resignation immediately.
Did you hear that, Mr. McCain?
Yes, so noted.
Anyone else?
Just to let you know, but the Big Ugly Crime Watch, they've elected a new president, Lacey Workman, as of Monday is new president of the Big Ugly Crime Watch. Congratulations.
There's two more hands not popping up.
David?
I have a question for Mr. McCann. Where's he coming up with money for all these jobs he's creating for the people who was going to lose the jobs because of the last election?
You wanna come forward so he can hear you?
Yes, Mr. McCann?
I hear you.
Okay. Where you coming up with all the money for these jobs that you're creating for the people who was going to lose their jobs because of the last election?
Well, they're not being created. These are jobs being filled due to people leaving or positions that are opening in the budget. There's nothing new. I mean, no new creations, no new money. These just have to be opening, and these people see those and taking advantage of it, in my opinion, and maybe helping the new assessor coming on so he can have his own staff.
Did we have anybody who was in litter control before?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Pridemore?
What procedures did, if Thomas Ramey resigned, what procedures did they go through to replace him?
Did you hear the question, Mr. McCann?
Who makes the decision?
Well,
Ed Pridemore is wanting to know who makes the decision on replacing Thomas Ramey. And if you want me to go ahead and address that, I have written a letter to the prosecuting attorney. He's going to give the commissioners the procedure they need to take, if that and when.
So
That is addressed in the code book.
Yes,
What's the code say?
don't the governor make that decision?
if there's only one commissioner left. If there's two, it'll be up to the two.
That's
They have 30 days to replace somebody, then it will go back to the committee if they can't.
Okay, thank you.
It has a lot to do whenever if he does, make a plea agreement. That affects a whole lot of things there.
Well, if you've been formally charged with lying to the FBI, I just don't see how in good faith you could represent the honest people of Lincoln County
And still draw a salary.
and still draw salary from the taxpayers.
Okay, since there's no other public comments, Commissioner Lane, do you have anything to?
The only thing I was going to comment on as far as the electrical outages, I think we did a really good job trying to get a hold of the problem when it occurred, but it wasn't, I don't think anybody knew it was coming. I don't think, it's basically, I'm prepared to handle certain things at the Hearts Clinic, but when I have certain things come in there, it's overwhelmed with what I can do there. And I think that's what happened. The bad thing about it was it took, 11 days on 9 Mile Creek to get electric back. And it wouldn't have been such a problem if the heat wasn't there and it was affecting people's health and things like that. But I do think we're addressing that situation with our meeting that we're talking about having as far as what we can do better. And I think that the AEP person also said they need to address how they respond to these things and what may be potentially coming in the future. But those, were the things that main concern I had. The other thing is Workforce West Virginia, which I said on their board of directors, as you all know, we'll have monies, I'm sure y'all seen this, available to retrain miners and try to put miners in position. They got a grant for, I think, $1.8 million to do that. So if you know anybody that might be in, which I know we all do, that might be in that situation, that might help them some. So you might want to spread that around. I know it's been in the news media and things like that. Sometimes just talking with the people that lost their jobs, because a lot of them aren't looking anymore. And concerning the constitution of the commission and things like that, I really feel that Mr. Ramey will resign. I think he said before if this happened, he would, and I don't think he go back on what he said. But it's not for me to decide, it's for him and his attorney to decide that. And as you all know, I've been a vocal critic of the process and things like that all along. But I do think that this is in Mr. Ramey's lap, and it's up to him to decide what he's going to do about it. And then I think this commission would take the appropriate steps necessary to do what needs to be done as quickly as it can be done. Because I don't think any of, I know I didn't appreciate the former two that pled staying on the payroll like they did. And I don't think any of the citizens of Lincoln County did.
No.
And so I would hope that anyone that would find themselves in that situation, being an elected official, and if they do plead guilty or want to plead guilty to someone, they just notify us and let us know about it. That's all I have to say.
Well, he previously said it was his constitutional duty to stay on as county commissioner when all this came down. So it seems to me to be his constitutional duty to do the right thing for the citizens who may be elected. So,
Mr. McCann, do you have anything to add?
Well, I mean, as far as
Your report?
I'll do more when I get back, but I did have conducted two other meetings while I've been down here on vacation by phone. EMS had a necessary meeting as well as Tri-River, but I've enjoyed the vacation, but still tried to hang on to the duty responsibilities also. I just worry about this electrical stuff as Commissioner Banks mentioned. It may have even been worse if we've had that in the wintertime. I don't know. It's a disaster for sure, and how we deal with it, we just got to do the best we can. And I think by the time we get through having some meetings and talk about it, we'll be better prepared, hopefully, and we'll just deal with it. But I certainly appreciate the efforts of all the volunteer fire departments and the other volunteers stepping up and getting things done and getting water, oxygen, and things out to the people. EMS informed me this week at the meeting that we had that all the different things that they did. My concern with them was, how do we communicate with you out here in the community to let you know that certain people need oxygen and things? And of course, it was a group effort, and people going out and asking them because they knew some of the patients and things like that. But EMS really stepped up also as far as getting things done and people volunteering to work extra and things like that. So it just shows that we have good people, and we have people who are concerned about their neighbors. And I just always proud to be part of Lincoln County.
Commissioner McCann and Commissioner Vance, I had to send in notification to the governor's office what some of the things that went wrong during this for Lincoln County during the power outage. And number one thing I listed was the lack of communication with the cell phones down and a lot of the telephone system. A lot of people did not know where to go. So I think throughout the state that was number one, and they're going to try to deal with something statewide on if electric goes off, no telephones and anything, how can they notify the person where to go to?
Yeah, that's the biggest issue, I'm sure. And again, back in when we had our other preparedness type studies, the thing we came up with then, that churches had to be involved in this communication as well as fire departments. It's one of those things that we just got to work on and see if we can come up with something better.
I was out volunteering during this time, and nobody seemed to know what exactly the disaster plan was. And I would just like to say the Mud River Volunteer Fire Department did an awesome job of transporting food, ice, and water and meals for several days on their own time to the areas, the 9 Mile area, parts of Mud River, the more isolated areas that didn't have food and water and ice. I work with special needs children, so I also went to other parts of Lincoln County on the Garrett's Bend, Joe's Creek, Bear Creek area. And unfortunately over there, people were told the National Guard was coming. And I don't know how they got that word, but they told me nobody ever came through their area asking them if they needed ice or water or a hot meal or an MRE, you know. So I do think that we need much better coordination with the fire departments and the churches in getting out and checking on isolated elderly people and anybody else that has a child or anybody who may be in need. And nobody just didn't seem to know the exact disaster.
Well, and I think it's one thing in these meetings we're going to talk about is contact people at the different churches and things that we would contact them from the OES service or whatever and say,
Right.
well, you're not going to have telephone service for probably quite a while. Could you let everybody know about that? Find out what their needs are, then report back in. You know, I think that's the thing, that we need just a little more structure
Yes.
with a check off of the different areas. Because I think on 9 Mile Creek, one of the problems we had was they fixed Hager Fork,
Yep.
thinking they'd gotten 9 Mile Creek taken care of, but the 105 homes up the other way, they just kind of passed up. And it wasn't our local people that done
No.
that, it was the fact that there wasn't anybody telling them, that's 9 Mile, not this is 9 Mile,
Yeah,
things
they
of
were
that
lost
nature.
out there on-
And the other problem I did notice, I didn't bring up a while ago, was a lot of people were in the automated system were calling in and getting incorrect addresses for their telephone, for their electric bill and things like that. They were saying, you're at such and such address, and they weren't. So there
Right.
was some computer glitch there that also hurt the situation. I'm sure we'll